What's going on, guys, and welcome back to a brand new episode of part number 26 of the MotoGP 25 Career Mode Season 2, Round 4 in the Moto2 World Championship. If you've missed any of the previous 3 rounds, I recommend you go back and check them out at the Thai Grand Prix, the Argentinian Grand Prix, and then last time out, the American Grand Prix, which was another difficult weekend and our worst weekend of the season yet. And we're going to try and right them wrongs at Qatar, which is going to be a very tricky weekend indeed. We know in the past how quick the AI are around this circuit, and it's not really one of my favourite circuits, it must be said. And we kind of kicked things straight off with backing that theory up in Friday practice. We were absolutely nowhere in Friday practice, and we are in Q1 for a second consecutive weekend after going through the opening 15-minute session back at Kota last time out at round number 3. But hopefully this time we'll be able to get through and into that all-important top 4 that we need to move ourselves into Q2 as we head down the main straight for the first time, starting our lap here. 10.5 minutes on the clock, and let's see what we can do as we batter our way in towards turn number 1, the tricky right-hander, which we've actually missed the apex, but we'll bring it back for a late apex, try and pick the power up, square the corner off on the exit, and then use all the track possible into this turn 2, tricky turn 2, because it's the first time that you touch the left side of that tyre up until the penultimate corner. So a long time that you don't use the left side of the tyre around the Lusail International Circuit. But as we head into the final corner at the end of our first flying lap, we missed the corner again. Just struggling on this Moto2 bike to really get that second phase of the entry right. We can get it stopped and get it in, but we always just run wide as we drop that last gear or something. It pushes us wide. It's a 56.293 anyway to open encounters, and it is a 1.7 seconds slower than Joe Roberts, who currently leads the way at the end of the first kind of laps that the riders are starting to put in. And as we cross the line again, no improvement at 56.8. And we've got it all to do on this lap as we currently line P13 in this session out of the 14 in it. So David Alonso on the Red Bull KTM bike, who I think is actually up ahead of us with his teammate Alonso Lopez as well, who is currently needing a lap down his 6th position. So the 2 Red Bull KTM IO bikes also needing laps to try and climb up inside that top 4. But we need a miracle, because at the minute we're 1.9 seconds, nearly 2 seconds down on Celestino Vietti, and I'm riding around this circuit trying to work out where those 2 seconds are as we run wide on the exit, and unfortunately the lap didn't come together, and it is going to be an early bath on Saturday here at the Lusail International Circuit, and it's going to be a back row start with David Alonso, whose lap, I think his final lap got cancelled for track limits. So David Alonso wasn't able to improve, neither was his teammate Alonso Lopez, who stayed in 6th, and that will be I think 20th on the grid, I dare say, for Alonso Lopez. But anyway, it's time to forget about that and time to focus on the race. We've got 6 laps of the Lusail circuit ahead of us, and it's going to be a tricky 6 laps indeed. The conditions, though, perfect as we head towards dusk and nightfall in Qatar. The sun is setting around this circuit. 22-degree air temperature, 24-degree track temperature, perfect conditions to go racing some Moto2 bikes on the Triumph Street 77765 RS engines and our Calyx frame on the Italtrans bike. Here is a reminder of the grid. Cannett's on pole, Vietti in 2nd, and Jake Dixon will start 3rd. However, Aaron Canet was up to no good in free practice. Misdemeanor for the Spaniard. He's got to serve a long lap penalty in this race for some sort of incident that happened around the circuit. It popped up during one of my laps in practice that Canet has a long lap to serve. So bear that in mind as we go racing in Qatar. There's confirmation from the stewards at the bottom of the screen. Aaron Canet, long lap penalty. Now here we go then. The red lights about to come on as the grid is clear and ready to go racing in Qatar. Reminder on the front row, Canet, Vietti and Dixon. We're starting all the way down in P27. Let's see what we can do as the lights go out in Qatar. We are underway, and it's not a good start as Alonso rockets his way through to P27, but then the infamous glitch, the famous glitch, just kicks into effect, and we manage to pick up about half the grid positions there as we go right around the outside of a handful of riders there, and we're into about P12, I want to say, maybe P15, somewhere around there. I think we're definitely in the points as we head through turn 2. Someone's out of the seat in the background. I think it's Darren Binder in the background out of the seat, and it is P11, and on the back of Albert Arenas on the Grassini bike, who is trying in turn to get ahead of Danny Holgado in this early phase of the race. So a good start for us. We're up 16 positions because this game is realistic and we gained so many positions on the opening lap, but we make a mistake down at turn 6 and Dennis Onchu, I think that is, says thank you very much and slides his way through at the hairpin. So Onchu, the man who needs to hit a bit of form, he's had pace throughout this season, but he's not quite turned that into results as it stands. He's through and into 11th, and Albert Arenas is also through on Holgado as well. But your top 3 as it stands at halfway around this opening lap of the race is Dixon, Vietti and Edgius. So the 2 Dynavolt bikes locked together there in 2nd and 3rd, but it's the Mark VDS rider Jake Dixon leading the way as we head through turn 11 for the first time. That tyre punish in turn 11, then into the right-handers with room wide on the first one. Ramirez is going to come through. He says thank you very much and slides his way through up into P12. And we're relegated down to P13 as we look to try and get back underneath Ramirez at turn 14. That would have been a brave move, and maybe a move that would have ended with one of us or both of us on the floor. No way through at the penultimate corner either as we are hounding the back of this Honda Team Asia bike. There's your leaders, Moreira in a RW Racing sandwich as is behind Ayumu Sasaki, who's made a good start to this race, and ahead of Zonta van der Gorberg. So Moreira, good start, he's in the mix there inside that top 5 as we are in the slipstream of Marcos Ramirez to try and reclaim that 12th position. There's a big gap opened up for Dennis Onchu. We've got Joe Roberts attacking as well. We go up the inside of Ramirez, but we've left it too late to grab the brakes and we run wide, and then there's contact between the 2 Fantic machines and myself. It was Colin Vire and Barry Bautas that we got pinched in, and look, Aaron Canet as well. So Canet's had a stinker from pole position. He's down to 17th. He hasn't done his long lap. He's just had an absolute shocker of a start to the race here in Qatar, and he's gone from pole all the way down to 17th. I wondered where he was and why he wasn't inside that top 3 or in the fight there with Sasaki Moreira or Zonta van der Gerberg, and it's because he's all the way down in 17th, and I wouldn't be surprised if he peels off as he does so to go and do his long lap penalty. So Canet will be relegated all the way down outside the top 20, and that is not the start that the Spaniard needs. He rejoins the pack, and that is an absolute awful start to the race for Aaron Canet on the speed up, the man who's set the pace all weekend, and unfortunately no way through. But we're in turn battle with Barry Bautas, and we've lost the front and gone down, and we've taken Barry with us. Me and Barry Bautas are down, and that is all she wrote for the Qatar Grand Prix. We are out of the race, and it is a disaster in Qatar. A very difficult weekend comes to an early end, but it's Celestino Vietti who fought through to take victory, 2.2 seconds over Dixon, and Moreira rounding out the podium. Another podium for the Brazilian rider, but it's a disaster for myself and Barry Bautas. I apologise to Barry, we got it all wrong up the inside and we lost the front, and down we went. The final point went to Alonso Lopez, and unfortunately it's a bitter end to the Qatar Grand Prix, but it is victory for Diogo Moreira, and with Aaron Canet, who finished nowhere in that race, it's a 13-point advantage for our teammate Moreira, who leads the championship. The Italchans Racing Team, despite our poor result, we still maintain the lead of the standings in the team's championship by 21 points. But there we go, that is it. Short and sweet for this episode because we've crashed out of the race on lap 2 at the Qatar Grand Prix. But next up we go to Europe, back to familiarity and the European rounds, starting with Jerez, and hopefully we can turn our season around. So until then, thank you for watching, like, subscribe, and goodbye.